Well, thank you so much for having me. This series is so cool. Tell me about the inspiration for the story.
Sure. Yeah. So Megan and I are a brother-sister writing team. And about 10 years ago, we had some unfortunate events happen in our family. We both graduated from college and we'd made it out into the big world. And then
Mhm.
our father, who's always sort of struggled with alcoholism, became very ill. And we ended up having to move back to our hometown in the Midwest and kind of refigure out what our lives were going to be. It was a really tough
Okay.
time for us. And there was a moment where we knew we wanted to write and we wanted to write about what we'd been going through. And at the time, one of us had said that we sort of felt dead inside. And so we took that and ran with it. And so we wanted to make a show that is very much about when you've hit the lowest part of your life, what can you do to try and find your way back to it, to try and recover and heal and move on. And so for us, School Spirits was born out of that place.
That's so interesting. So, I mean, because I know that there are kind of these themes of like addiction and recovery in the show, but they're not at the forefront, right? Like the ghost stories at the forefront, but
Mhm.
those themes still kind of made their way in. Was that intentional, or did they just kind of
It
No, very
was,
much,
slip in
yeah.
there?
it's
Mhm.
something I think that we were personally exploring, and will personally explore for the rest of our lives, I'm sure, because
Mhm.
it's part of how we live. But we also realized that as we were sort of finding catharsis and coming up with this story, we were sharing more with people around us and realizing our story wasn't particularly unique to us. A lot of people deal with very similar issues, whether it is addiction in the family, whether it is feeling aimless or confused about what to do with your life.
Mhm.
It's all over the place. And talking about it is how we started to heal. And so we hope that sharing the story and this version of the story and these sort of subplots of what real people do deal with every day will be
Mhm.
a way that people can kind of connect and relate and feel like they aren't alone and that there are other people out there who want to talk about it and it's okay to talk about it.
All
I
while
think
having a fun time solving the
And
mystery.
yeah,
Yeah.
the central character was disconnected. She was very disconnected, and the idea was via a group that she never wanted to join, she
Mhm.
ultimately, in the course of this series, finds some of the deepest friendships she's ever had. And the idea is coming out of the pandemic. I have two teenagers who didn't do so well during the pandemic. It wasn't easy living in the bedroom and going through
Mhm.
puberty, growing 6 inches, and then going back to school wearing a mask. It was navigating really uncharted territory. And who do you trust? Who's really my friend? What happened to this person? Why are they having an alternate life online, an ulterior profile? There was a lot going on for these young people. And I think the show plugs into a great deal of that. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
Maddie does connect, and I think there's hope in the series. And I think that's one thing that Nate and Megan and I felt was important, that this character would never be defined by the worst thing that ever happened to her.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's talk about the kind of like the genre aspect of the show, because there's so many through lines, right? There's the ghost story, there's the murder mystery, there's the high school story. What sources did you look to for inspiration that kind of outside of your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's funny. The show, I think teenagers now and even adult viewers, we've seen so much content. So what really excites us is something new. And in a way, we took elements from things that we loved and combined them into what ultimately became a teen ghost noir. But for us, I know Veronica Mars was a show that was really, really a big part of our growing up and coming of age. And so
Mm.
that was a big inspiration. Films like the Breakfast Club or 1990s film Ghost
Mhm.
were big inspirations.
And then also just the sort of great teen shows of the past, like My So-Called Life and
Dawson's Creek, Freaks
Freaks
and
and Geeks,
Geeks.
Dawson's
Mhm.
Creek.
Totally. Yeah.
And of course, shows like Pretty Little Liars that have these great, wonderful ensemble mysteries going on. We love YA. We've as adults we love it. It was a huge
Mhm.
comfort to us. We were returning to it over and over again, and so it's always been something we wanted to add our voices to the conversation because I really think you can do so much wonderful, wonderful creative work in that
Yeah.
space.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the teen years, they're so fraught, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
take the most normal teenage life, and there's already like more than enough going on
exactly.
there.
So
Yeah.
dramatic all the time.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. How about like one thing that I was curious about were the rules of the afterlife that you established, right? So like Maddie can do this, but she can't do this. How did you world build? How did you put that together?
We went in knowing we wanted to keep it really grounded. We wanted it to not be like many supernatural shows, which we love, or movies, where the ghosts are a little more ethereal. They can kind of pass through walls. They don't need to open doors, things like that. At the heart of it, the show is still a teen drama, and we wanted it to feel that way, just in two sort of separate spaces.
Sure. Yeah.
So we were really, really intentional about the rules. And I think that the number one goal was to keep all the rules grounded. So if she moves something, she can't really affect it in the real world, but she can interact with it in the ghost world. Things like that, we wanted to make sure we kept them in a realm that was believable.
And we just want to create obstacles too. You know, the idea is that feeling of being invisible, right?
And also helpless, because you're
Exactly.
impotent. Without Simon, she can't be effective. She has no agency or impact on the living world. So that was part of the idea, is that, okay, she really needs a lifeline, because to solve this murder, she can't do it without that person.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Congrats on the show. Yeah, we're really excited for it.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you. Have a
Nice
good
to
day.
meet you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.